passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in! Touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond.
Swing it and drive! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jarid Watson.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond. I'm Jarid Watson, along with me, Andy Billman, and we are coming off an awful Browns loss.
Cleveland Browns.
Where it was a wake-up call, in my opinion. They got their butts whooped by the Chargers. I didn't even know where they were going to be playing this weekend, apparently, Andy. For some reason, I thought this was a home game. I also keep calling them the San Diego Chargers. What's wrong with me?
Well, everybody is. I heard that from Mike Francesa to Tony Grossi, so I think it's in the air. I think it's also to a team that does not have a true, as you mentioned, a true home field. They play on a soccer field, but that's for another conversation. Yesterday was the first time all year that not only were the Browns not in a tight game, they were, as you mentioned, really blown away. Really never felt like they were in a game by the middle of the third quarter. By that point in the game was pretty much done.
A lot of people still hanging on to referees being the issue. A lot to do with the false start that was never called. With that, which ended up being a touchdown pass. One of Rivers' only 11 receptions in the game, which in itself is strange too. There's plenty of holes in this Cleveland Browns team that we don't need to be worrying about the referees.
Yeah, I agree. I'm actually the offsides call that allowed a touchdown to happen. That was terrible, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that was very bad. There's nothing to break down. There's nothing to analyze. That was a very bad play in the game. There were other moments in this game. You noted some of them when we were texting back and forth, and I even glanced and saw some others. There's obviously an epidemic right now where refereeing the NFL is not strong. And it's definitely having an influence in the game. I don't think it's dictating who's winning games. So that's where I'll leave the referee thing. I just wanted to lead off with it. I know everybody will be talking about it again today, but I think it's time to move forward from it. Because what really caught my eye was the first time Mayfield went through the motions of a football player getting hurt, having players around him really having bad days, whether it was Landry, Callaway with several drops in the game again. Having to overcome those kind of obstacles, your offensive line having a decent day but not great, a lot of pressure on the ball.
Goodness, there were 4 sacks, I think, in the first quarter and a half. Yeah,
Mayfield really had a hard time in this game. This was the first time I had seen Mayfield really look below average.
Right.
He looked shook up during times in the game. I think the drop passes had a huge effect on this game. We'll get to that next. I thought it really affected Mayfield because I thought he started holding on to the ball too long. And I also thought his injury early on in the game slowed him down through the first half. I don't think it slowed him down in the second half. I think, though, the injury did slow him down for portions of the first and second quarter. He just did not look, I don't know what the proper term is. He didn't look smooth. He didn't really look like he had his normal pep in his step.
Right.
So Mayfield had a bad game. That's going to happen, rookie quarterbacks. And again, the contribution was done by the drop passes. On this podcast, we made a big deal about what was going on with the wide receivers. And, it played into a big role in this game again, where you saw wide receivers that were not just, I don't know, Jared, I'm surprised, going in the beginning of the season until now, the wide receivers have not been an issue.
Right.
But this is the first point I've seen Dorsey. I think Dorsey needs to take a hit. Dorsey should have known after the Ravens game and during the week, do we really have this position settled? Is this really what we're going to do going forward? It felt like even when we were talking on Friday, they were just hoping that this was going to work out.
Yeah, with the acquisition of, they brought Streeter in, and then Brashard Perryman. What do they expect? It's hi, Brashard Perryman. We just got rid of Corey Coleman, so now we're going to bring you in. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Ridiculous. again, Dorsey's done a great job this year, but I think he fumbled this moment this week. He had a chance to bring in Des Bryant. He had a chance to do something strong on Monday or Tuesday. They let this carry on all the way to Saturday when they're sounding Perryman, like you mentioned. That really set the tone for what we saw on the game on Sunday. So Dorsey's at fault here. You got to do a better job of bringing someone in earlier in the week. You can't bring in Bashar Perryman on a Saturday. Come on. I'm sure he didn't even get in the game. And then, again, to the bigger conundrum, these drop passes. David Njoku, you get a pass. I actually didn't see you drop one, but, boy, yep. Callaway with several drops again.
Landry's effort looked terrible yesterday, and that attitude, from what I'm hearing on the sidelines, was contagious. That there was a bad attitude on the sideline, that there were bad moods, that there were people that they were not acting like a team that wanted to fight to win. They were throwing temper tantrums, from what I'm hearing, and that drives me nuts. And once again, where does that go back to? Those attitudes being allowed to persist in the middle of a football game that you're not necessarily out of through the first half.
I agree. I mean, Landry needs to play better. I was going to bring this up today. Landry has to play better. He did not play well.
No.
He's disappearing.
That one time that I just couldn't believe the lack of effort.
Yeah.
It was very Josh Gordon reminiscent when he'd stick his nose in the game every once in a while.
Well, I was going to say, it reminded me about actually Odell Beckham, where he would just try to make the fancy play instead of making the play. Just make the play. I mean, you don't need to be on a highlight reel. Make the play. The Callaway thing is something I want to bring up again because he's gotten away with, I think, with his speed and his ability to be athletic in the open field. But Callaway does not have consistent hands. I mean, we're 6 games in. This is – I think it's time now you can label it. I'm concerned about Callaway's hands. I don't know if Callaway is going to make it long-term if this continues because his drops are just disease-like on this team. And I know a lot of people today were thrilled, or not thrilled, I guess is the word, but they were satisfied or happy with Ratley. Look, I think Ratley's a nice player. I don't think he's more than a 3, though. I don't think he's a guy you can really rely on.
He cost them more than he gave them.
I thought so, too. I thought Ratley was okay. I wasn't blown away by Ratley at all. And in fact, at times, I think it was just a matter of him getting the ball because no one else either wanted the ball or you could tell that Mayfield wasn't trusting anyone else. The only guy that really showed up and played was Duke Johnson.
Yep,
I thought Duke had a good game. He looked good coming out of the backfield. And I think you're going to see more of Duke Johnson because I don't know if they have – at this point, you can tell the wide receiver issue is now a full blame. It's just such a fire inferno mess. And again, Dorsey's got to do something better. To what you alluded to, Hue has got to do more on the sidelines if that's what's going on with Landry. Landry, again, has to play better on himself. And then – So we're taking this all apart. I just want to hit this one more time.
Yeah.
Mayfield's a rookie quarterback, and you have to expect these games. And he looked like a rookie quarterback. He looked shook up. He never looked comfortable. He played like a tense type player throughout.
I didn't know. In my opinion, from what it looked like to me, he felt alone. I think out there. He felt very alone. He looked like he was on an island. And I will say, though, I mean, with all that said, his numbers still don't look all that bad. 22 of 46 for 238 with a touchdown. And you knew that, the 2 interceptions at that point, the second one, it looked like he's just forcing the ball. He's trying to make something happen. I give him a pass for the second interception at that point. But the team put up 100 yards on the ground again. Like you said, Duke Johnson had a great game. There were some bright spots. David Njoku was catching the ball.
Yep.
Those wide receivers were terrible.
Terrible.
The run defense was atrocious once again. Unbelievable. Again, going right back to what I said earlier about Phillip Rivers only having 11 receptions in the game, right? 11 for 20 for 200 yards. That's a Phillip Rivers game? Not really. They put up, Melvin Gordon had 132 yards with more than nearly 7.5 per carry. That's not going to cut it.
I made a note in the second quarter. If the Chargers run the ball, they are going to win big, because you could just tell. Like, and again, this is another one. Now, this one I'm going to get more animated about. We have said time and time again on this podcast that the run defense is a concern. And lo and behold, once a team got the lead, were the Browns able to step up? Of course not. They haven't stopped the run all year. So this is a bigger problem in that if the Browns get down late in the game, they can't stop anybody. They haven't been able to stop anybody all year, whether it's Marshawn Lynch, whether it's Kamara, and whether it's yesterday Gordon. They all chew them up. I don't want to hear about this as a one-game thing. This has been all year.
No, it's 200-plus yards on the regular.
246, 6.8, 6.8 per carry. At one point during the game, and this was late in the third quarter, it was almost 9 yards per carry.
It looked like Moses parting the Red Sea every time they were going to run the ball.
This has to – we have not hammered it. Maybe we have hammered it here, but now it's going to become a point of emphasis. This has to stop, because if you're any team in the NFL and you're watching the Browns defense, you're going to run the ball. I mean, the Browns can't stop anything right now. No. And in the one game they did against the Ravens, I thought they went away from a run. And by the way, I think if they would have gone to the run, they would have won that game. So this run defense has not been there all year. I am actually going to say that Myles Garrett has to learn how to play better run defense. I thought at times he was over pursuing.
That was the issue, yeah.
And on the other side, too, with Agba, I saw a lot of that, too. Too much over pursuing on this defense. They have to start setting the edge. You heard that a lot during the telecast, and it's going to have to start happening on this team.
Is that a product of Greg Williams just wanting to bring pressure constantly?
There's no doubt, and we've discussed that. But Greg has to now dial it back. It's now on notice. You finally got, as we like to say, you got spotlighted big time by this. I mean, it's been noticeable to you and I throughout the year. But now it's I'm in a way this had to happen, because the defense, even with its aggression, the defense, even with its turnover ability, hasn't been able to slow down the run all year. Well, now they have to address this, because again, if you're any NFL team, you're going to run against the Browns. And then, defense all the way around had a really poor day. There were 7 plays during the game with 20 more yards, 1 interception at the end. Look, everybody. Denzel Ward looked great last week, looked pedestrian this week. Yep. Didn't play a bad game, but didn't make his emphasis felt. This was the first game, too, I thought Myles Garrett did not play well. I thought he tried to make impact plays. I thought his motor was always running, but he looked out of place. He just did not look like he was in sync. Myles didn't look good to me in this game. I don't know how you felt. I didn't think he had, I don't know. I just felt at times he wasn't. It was like,
I think there was one series where they had that's the other thing, field position. They did well early when it came to field position too. And they couldn't capitalize whatsoever. So Myles Garrett, he did get there. There was some pressure on the quarterback. Did he get one knockdown? I think on one series when Phillip Rivers, they were back near the end zone.
Yeah.
But the force. There were moments early where they were still in the game, even when they were down 14-3. It felt like they should have been up 21-14.
Well, no, they were in the game, and again, Myles Garrett didn't play horrible, but I just thought he was out of position.
Yeah.
I just thought way too many times he was. I thought the Chargers had a great game plan for Myles Garrett. I thought they exposed him a little bit. I think they exposed him pretty good.
Jabril finally had some decent punt returns, but that was negated.
Washed with the muff. Once you muff the punt, all wash. Peppers cannot be returning kicks anymore. It can't happen.
I know.
Sorry.
But what are they going to? They're not doing it. They're not making.
Well,
where are these changes going to come from? What are they?
You know what? Dorsey's been eating all this bubble gum and getting all this praise. Time to get to work this week. Find a wide receiver. Find a punt returner. Find a kick returner. Not working. Not working.
Are they going to make a trade for Amari Cooper?
Here's the thing about Amari Cooper. I watch the Raiders from time to time. He also drops a lot of passes. He also at times stops in the middle of his routes. Amari Cooper would be great. I mean, look, we have what we have. Amari Cooper we kind of need. But there's a reason why. See, this is different from Khalil Mack to me. I know why the Raiders are getting rid of Amari Cooper, because the drop passes and his, at times his half-hearted effort. I'm sure Gruden's had it with it. Do you want that here?
Hey, did you watch the Patriots game last night, by the way?
Well, yeah, I did. But let's get back to, do you want Amari Cooper? wait a minute. We'll talk about that.
I wanted to whine some more about Josh Gordon now.
Oh, well, we'll talk about that. I told you I paused, and that's the reason why I paused, because now you need him, and it stinks. Yeah, and by the way, that was the right play. Let's talk about that in a little bit. Do you want Amari Cooper? I don't know if I do. I
don't know what you're going to do to get him. I think that we're at a point in this season where we can talk about making these moves and making these trades, but there's a lot that goes into making this stuff happen. Even if you really if you're not 100% wanting it to happen.
Look, here's the reason why I don't want Amari Cooper. You need to go to wherever Des Bryant is and go to his house and talk to him about playing on his team. Because you don't have to make a trade for this.
Yeah.
And you can really negotiate through this. And that's what you need. I can't believe the Browns have gotten to this point, but you need someone like Des Bryant on this team. And I don't think Des Bryant solves all your issues. I know Des Bryant will have moments where he'll drive me crazy, but that's the move to me. Why make a trade for Amari Cooper when you can get Des Bryant? I think Amari Cooper's a name. I think I don't know. I'm down on Amari Cooper just because I watched him play the last year and a half. And if people like drop passes, Amari Cooper's had a lot of drop passes too. This is more of the same. Just being honest.
Well, there's other people in Cleveland media that really want the Browns to make a move for Odell Beckham Jr. as well.
Okay, let's talk about that. I don't think Odell Beckham Jr. is going to move either.
No.
You're going to have to give up the farm, and you're going to be paying out the nose for his contract. By the way, the Giants are not going to do that because the Giants are going to get hit with a huge salary cap problem. So that's make-believe. So the Giants would take such a salary cap hit. Why would they ever do that move? And why would the Browns take on that contract? Right?
Well, we've got Damian Ratley with 6 receptions. We could stick with that.
The Damian Ratley thing, he's a nice kid. Again, nice kid. That's all he is. He's a nice kid. Looks good. Nice kid. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to some burning questions. You fired me up with that Amari Cooper thing. I can't.
But that's what we're facing right now. That's what's being presented to us as an option.
I know, but Amari Cooper, people need to watch football. Amari Cooper, if you're trading up a lot to get Amari Cooper, you are going to get so frustrated with yourself. It's just a name. He's not playing great. Again, there's a reason why the Raiders are trading Amari Cooper. Anyways, all right. Landry, is this a Amari Cooper? Landry, is this a Mayfield problem, you think, with him? Is this something that it's come about with Hard Knocks? I mean, I think we need to talk about this. Where do we go with Landry? Because, forgetting his off-the-field stuff, if he had that during the sidelines, and that, okay, I will say this. This seems to happen more and more. So for the Browns, this is not unique to any team. The Browns are just going through it now. The one thing that I'm watching that I'm not ready to label officially, but I'm getting there, I think Landry is just a good wide receiver. I don't think he's great. I don't see any great play so far.
I don't know how I can put any of this on. I mean, there might be a chemistry issue between Landry and Baker, but it sure as hell didn't seem that way when he walked into that Pittsburgh game in the second half. And Landry and him were nothing but a love fest at the end of that game. At the end of what game they win? The Jets game.
Jets game.
Losing my damn mind right now. But the point being, where'd all that go? How was it there and now it's not?
I just think Landry is at a point when and this is more natural. Landry has to make some decisions. Is he going to put his emotions aside and really work with Baker to get some things done, because they're not connecting right now?
Yeah.
They did in the Jets game, but to be truthful, that was the only game they made well, and they looked good together. And is he going to be able to step up his game, or to what I think is the bigger thing for next year, not this year, but for next year, is Landry just a good slot or a good 2, and you're going to need to get a number 1 receiver in the draft again?
But we knew this coming into this season. This was already established.
By the way, I agree.
That too much was going to be put on Landry.
That's right.
Expectation-wise. And I mean, and we were hoping that we wouldn't have to. We were hoping that Josh Gordon would have been the number 1. And we were also hoping Callaway would quickly learn this game. And
Callaway, his catching issue is a disease. It's a rookie, so he gets another chance next year. And David Njoku's proven maybe over the year you can improve on this. Just 2 games in a row, David Njoku's looked pretty decent catching the ball.
Yep.
But Callaway right now is in a slump catching the ball. I mean, it's an official slump now. You officially got something here where it just –
Who in the hell is Orson Charles, by the way?
I don't know. Who the hell is Orson Charles?
He's got 1 reception with 8 yards yesterday.
All right, well, and again, we mentioned on this podcast the wide receivers going into this game concerned me. I should have known better, and it played out in this game. Did a Josh Gordon thing. That's why I said on the last podcast I would pause, because I think that was the right trade.
Yep.
I think the Browns had to do that, but this is the product of that trade.
Yeah.
Now you're a wide receiver short, and maybe in a way you're a wide receiver and a half short, because not only did you lose a wide receiver who's very talented, you lost your number 1, and now you're short, and that's why you're doing Amari Cooper trades, right? The run defense, I want to save Mr. Jackson for last. When it comes to the run defense, do you think our boy Greg Williams make any adjustments, or do you think this is just going to be this is what the Browns are, and they're going to give up a lot of yards on the run?
I mean, I don't think they're going to change game plan, but they'll tweak some things. You've alluded to it already, just in regard to over pursuing by Myles Garrett. Those sorts of things. Maybe they make small changes. I don't think they're going to make big scheme changes. I don't know what they would do. I mean, because here's the other glaring problem that showed its head yesterday. That it started to show itself the week prior. But these missed tackles, just guys bouncing off of players, is embarrassing.
Yeah, this is back to it started in a Raiders game. In the Ravens game, it was hit or miss, but I know what you mean. I saw it in the Ravens game, but it wasn't as strung out.
They caught themselves, I believe. They
stepped
up at times.
Yeah, I saw them kind of self-correct. And again, the Chargers are a good, fast, strong team. And this is a product of it. I mean, it just didn't look like, we'll say this for the end, just didn't look like the Browns were prepared. Is there any concern with Baker Mayfield long term? I'm going to answer this question first. I think that's what people are going to ask. And I wanted to hit on it, so I'll hit on it one more time. Remember, he's a rookie quarterback. Remember that he is playing a team that's projected to make the playoffs. It happens. He looked exposed. He tweaked his knee. The early drop passes, I think this is the first time it affected his play in the game. And I think Baker now is finally experiencing some NFL rookie quarterback hurdles. And I wouldn't be concerned long term. I still think he's our guy, but he had a bad day, and I just think it's a one-game thing. Could happen again. And again, even if that were to happen, I would not be freaking out.
Right. No. I'm the same way. I honestly didn't think overall that his game wasn't what lost us that game yesterday. His area of play was not the biggest factor in that team losing.
No, I thought it contributed. I did not think it was. there was a lot of contributors in this game, but I don't think it was a deeming overall factor. Like if you're going, what was really damning this game? Run defense. What was really damning this game? Drop passes. What was really in this game? The aura of the Browns kind of not into this. They just were not in a flow in this game at all. Didn't look like they were really mentally, I don't know, focus is the word, but they just did not seem like they. Yeah, again, it happens in the NFL. It happens. So they just had one of those clunker games. So to our favorite topic, and this is for last we're going around the league. Hue Jackson. How much should this go on him? A little, some.
There's somebody that both of us get along with rather well that seemed to be defending Hue throughout the game yesterday on Twitter. With Hue didn't drop that pass, Hue didn't make that throw, Hue didn't allow that run, in those certain words. I on the other hand, I'm not worried about the play. Is a reflection of the attitude on the sidelines, and everything that I'm hearing about the sidelines yesterday is that are we sure? We talk about culture. I don't think yesterday's culture is what we want. I don't get what. How does keeping Hue benefit us? I just keep going back to that. What does keeping Hue do for us?
When we asked ourselves this question last week, we both said we should fire him. I think the Browns should fire Hue Jackson. Yeah. And the longer this goes, you're going to have games like this. He is not a good coach. I'm sorry. I think a good amount of blame should go on Hue Jackson for this loss. How many times can a guy just get a free pass? Yes, he did not make those plays. Yes, there were plays where it was obviously it was on the players. There's no question. But Hue sets the tone, and he set the tone for this game, and I'm sorry, he's just got to go. I'm not going to get off that, and I don't think you will either after that game.
No.
I guess my final thought.
You're talking about the Chargers at home coming off that win against the Ravens when you're getting national attention like crazy, where people are genuinely talking about the idea of bumping you to the Sunday night, at some point in this season, and then you show up and lay an egg. I loved it in a sense that it's a nice check and a reminder. I shouldn't say love it. I don't ever love a Browns loss, but I can appreciate.
I know what you mean.
I can appreciate, a game like this that where egos get checked, where attitudes get checked. But it's gonna come back to how do they prepare this week and going into this week. That's gonna be, because now I'll tell you, they do if they lose again like this next week. Is Hue gone?
Tampa Bay is not that good.
Right.
I think it's these two games combined. I think it's this and the Steelers game. I think if they lose at Tampa Bay, nothing changes. I think if he loses Pittsburgh, and then I think you're gonna start seeing the vultures come out. I think this is also a big week for John Dorsey. I think Dorsey needs to settle down this wide receiver position. Nothing wrong with Damian Ratley. Could be an up-and-coming good player, but he's not ready for the kind of minutes and the kind of passes he's going to be getting right now in the NFL. Let's go around the league. I mean, that was what a terrible, terrible bleep show on Sunday. All right, around the league, Pitt, again, typical Pitt. They win in these games against Cincinnati in the final seconds. Pittsburgh now, and by the way, the Browns are now in last place because of that. Ravens demolish the Titans. Titans come back down to earth. Rams are still undefeated. Dolphins, that was a crazy game in Miami. Crazy game in Miami.
What happened to Tannehill? I had him starting in one of my leagues too, which is don't ask why.
our good friend, everybody's good friend, Brock Osweiler with a good victory over the in the Jay Cutler Bowl there between the Bears and the Dolphins. And then the Pats. I watched more of the Red Sox game, but I did have my eye on the Kansas City
I had that
Pats game. Great game, boy. Tyreek Hill's an amazing player.
He is stupid fast.
He really is.
It's nuts.
That was your typical Pats victory. They did enough to win. That's something the Browns will hopefully be someday. The Pats they're annoying in these kind of wins because the better team's Kansas City.
Yeah.
And
you knew they scored that touchdown way too fast. That was it. There was no defense in that game whatsoever.
Typical Pats. You don't know how, you don't know why, but they win. Before we change to the Buckeyes and the Irish real quick, any final thoughts with the Browns this week? Is there anything you were really going to be looking for before the lead up into the Tampa game?
So I really am focused on attitude and leadership right now, and I want to see how Baker bounces back. I want to see how Jarvis Landry bounces back.
Yep.
I still like the run game. I can't hate on it, but run defense, I guess that's the other thing that I want to see what's going to happen. That tackling, God bless. I guess I have a laundry list.
I think it's a big week for Hue. I think it's the first time it's a big week for John Dorsey. Got to fix his wide receiver position.
How are they going to do that though, Andy? I don't know.
Well, John Dorsey's gotten a lot of praise for doing a lot of things. He can fix this. There are ways to fix it. There are ways to improve it. That did not work on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time Dorsey took a hit. That's on Dorsey.
Yeah.
Those wide receivers are on Dorsey. That is his selections. And again, I'm not saying these players aren't going to be good pros, but I felt it on Friday. I'm like, I'm surprised this is the group we're going to go with on Sunday. Yeah. And it showed. I think it's a big week for him. Is it an Amari Cooper trade, which I would not like? Is it going to be something with Des Bryant, which I think you need to do? It's interesting. Again, I'm not saying there's a magic elixir, but you can't go forward with this team. And maybe to the bigger point, it's a big week for Baker too, and working with Landry and figuring that out. Landry's talked a lot of talk. Hopefully he steps up his game because that. Man, I was surprised. I guess that's my last final thought. I am surprised how Landry played on Sunday.
Yeah.
That was very surprising.
Yeah, it was kind of a tone setter.
And talking about surprises, let's go to college football. A lot of surprises, a lot of upsets. I'm going to lead off with the Irish this week because I think that was more of the game that kind of caught people's eyes. I should have known better. Wrote it in my lead. Pittsburgh is always a thorn to Notre Dame. And what do the Panthers do? They're a big thorn on Saturday. Notre Dame really had, for the first time, a game where it looked like they were in a trap game. Bye week coming up, just after a couple big wins, Virginia Tech on the road, and they just were not into this game, not in any kind of flow. And Pittsburgh is one of the worst teams you can do that with because they hit hard, they play physical. They're always mentally prepared going into games. So it was the wrong week for Notre Dame to play off, but they did. Ian Book played okay. I think at times people are going to get on his performance, but I thought, you look at his numbers, he had 2 interceptions, but he actually played pretty well, and he had a great game-winning touchdown pass, really saved the game on that play to win the game. The bigger thing in this game was Pitt, for the first time, really showed the Irish that you can shut down Dexter Williams. Dexter Williams just had nothing in this game. A lot of people brought up in articles and on with analysts, are the Irish, are their offensive line a concern? I think I'm not ready to go there yet, but the offensive line for the Irish has not looked good in recent weeks when it comes to pass protection, and they did get pushed around against Michigan, and they got pushed around against Pitt. So obviously the offensive line, which was a strength in the past 2 years, is not going to be a strength going forward. So that's something to watch for now for the Irish. I think you can now say for the offensive line, I don't know if it's a weakness, but it's certainly not a strength. The bigger thing in this game, too, is Pitt controlled the clock and really just did a nice job milking it. Really, Jared, for people who didn't watch the game, there were missed field goals by Pittsburgh, and that really saved the Irish in this game. If Pitt would have made those field goals, I think it's a very, very different outcome in South Bend. So Notre Dame survives, and that's what it was. They survive, and sometimes you need to do that in college football. You just need to get through these games and make it to the next week. The Irish have a bye. But the bigger things, again, in this game, can the Irish have to have a running game to win and get into the playoffs? Can the offensive line, is that just a one-game aberration? And really the defense for Notre Dame played pretty well. So that was it. Again, they survived. It's all that matters sometimes.
Yeah, there was a lot of shutdown defense at the end of that game because Pitt definitely had a few opportunities, and they're probably their last 3 possessions. They got the ball fast a few times, and they couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah, Notre Dame's defense played really stout. And again, Pittsburgh, they really don't have the tools to move the ball down the field against Notre Dame defense. So, again, they survive, they move on. Ohio State, boy, I thought our bigger point here was could they play a complete game?
Ohio State football.
What would you say, Jared? Do you think they played a complete game?
It looked like absolute garbage. It was painful, and we're almost getting used to it at this point in the season. You're almost expecting it. It feels like 2002 with that Tressel team that for some reason they could never blow a team out. They just would squeak by every game, and that's how they stayed undefeated all the way through the national championship game. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. Haskins had another huge game, another 400 yards passing. Come on, the kid's legit. But we've talked about they're running the ball, and where is that running game? It doesn't exist.
I was going to bring that up. I think the bigger concern here with Ohio State is this running game. I mean, we mentioned it. It would be nice to have a little bit of a running game. I think you can officially start labeling this like Ohio State's running game. They have 32 carries for only 92 yards. And to give you a kind of a glimpse across the field, the Gophers ran for 178 on 33.
Well, it was another day of big plays, and Ohio State's defense did not look good whatsoever. Now, granted, they held them to 14 points, but those 14 points happened quick, and they happened on big plays. Defensively, there's no real pass rush. They had 2 sacks. I mean, for Ohio State, there's nothing to hang your hat on the defensive side of the ball with the Buckeyes. There just isn't.
I was going to bring this up. I thought this was the first time they missed Bosa. I thought Bosa not being there really showed up in this game. And this is another game, too. If Minnesota makes their field goals, very different outcome. Very different outcome. Minnesota missed several field goals that really helped Ohio State put it away comfortably at the end. But it was not comfortable until really late in the fourth quarter. The running game thing, I think, goes to another theme. Is Ohio State's offensive line good? Because, they're getting kind of pushed around a little bit when it comes to this running game. And, the line play, I just would say, someone referenced that you got to wonder how these practices are going during Minnesota week, during Indiana week, because I did not see the same offensive defensive line play against Penn State. And even though in that game at times they struggled, I thought they actually held their own, even with Penn State's defensive line really pushed them around. But the Ohio State offensive line, and I want to get your feeling on this, is that a concern? Because, again, going back to the Irish, they couldn't really run the ball against Pitt.
There's that, and they took 3 sacks, too. I mean, Haskins was sacked 3 times, which, by the way, he doesn't – I don't know how much I like him scrambling. He's got to learn how to scramble on the big stage. But I mean, besides that, I would say it is a concern. But I still think their defense is a bigger concern. I think that defense is going to get torn to shreds in big games if they don't figure this out. Ohio State and Notre Dame. What I see going forward now, we finally got something we can pinpoint for these teams. So I found some things on both teams we can now start to really watch. I think to win, forget Minnesota and Pitt, these bigger games, they're going to have to be able to run the ball. Yeah. Because when they don't, these are the games we're seeing. And it's now been consistent with both teams where there's been multiple times where when they've not been able to run the ball, this is the result. So Ohio State's got to get more focused. Look, I'm a Purdue fan, so take this with a grain of salt. If they play this way at Purdue next Saturday night, coming up on ABC on 7:30, I think Ohio State could be in a really bad dogfight. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I really do. I think Notre Dame, I think it's the perfect time to have a bye week. Notre Dame really needs it. But for Ohio State, something that I want to go over longer on Friday, I think that this is a good test for Ohio State. Because when you play Indiana and Minnesota at home, you can have slip-ups and the band starts playing a little bit after missed field goals, and you can feel like you can get over that emotional hump. When you're on the road and you're playing a team like Purdue that's very fast on offense, and Purdue can put up points.
it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We'll get into this long. Again, I'm a Purdue fan, so I got my Purdue glasses on probably a little bit.
No, I got you. But you're right.
But,
That's a game that Ohio State should have in their minds that they cannot come in with anything less than an A game.
So, I guess it's a disease for the Browns, Irish, and Buckeyes. Everybody kind of just going through the motions this week. I thought all three teams really did, and especially with Ohio State, they have to start playing better. To the bigger point of college football, a lot of upsets this week. The team I've been kind of soft, pushing and promoting, LSU, with a great win over Georgia at home, and not just a great win. They dominated over Georgia, looked great. They now have a tough game against Mississippi State coming off this. That is LSU. Gosh, give this team credit. They played Miami in a neutral site. They played Auburn on the road. They played at Florida. That was their only loss. And then they played Georgia, only to come back to play Mississippi State, have a bye week to play Alabama. Their schedule is just ferocious. So for whatever it's worth, LSU at the end of the year should be given credit for playing a great schedule.
Absolutely.
My gosh, they've taken on everybody. West Virginia took a bow out. They played a terrible game against Iowa State. Iowa State now has a knack of knocking off these teams, home or away, by the way. I think that also, in the bigger picture of things, that knocks out Greer for the Heisman. I've been hearing a lot about that. You cannot win the Heisman if you lose by 10-plus points at Ames. So that goes away. No more Greer, no more Heisman. West Virginia's officially out. A great game in Happy Valley, and not so happy in the Valley for Penn State. A great catch at the end of the game for Michigan State. And, I think, again, that's great for Ohio State. That makes that game bigger. But, before we go too forward, what another bizarre – I mean, Franklin has a week off, and they get that kind of performance at home. What do you think about that? For Penn State, real quick.
I think that they are who we thought we are, or they are. They don't.
Yeah.
That's at this point, it seems to be par for the course for this Penn State team and for that Penn State coaching staff. To lose it the way they did, man. Michigan State, no quit. They had a missed opportunity. I think the possession prior or something. It where you thought, oh boy, the time's running out. I don't know how they're going to pull this off, but yeah, I watched it. It was fun.
Watch Penn State. They don't have easy games going out. I think Penn State, when you don't have a Saquon Barkley to lean on, I know they got McSorley, and I like him a lot, but I think Penn State's a team to watch. They could spiral.
Yeah,
I think.
A very
they're not careful.
19 of 32, less than 200 yards passing, and one touchdown. That's not going to cut it at home. No. At home against Michigan State. That's I think Penn State needs to be put on watch for kind of spiraling out of control. So I think that could easily happen. Michigan Michigan needed. You want to talk about a team that needed a dominant performance in a big spot? Michigan did, and they got it. They really handed Wisconsin to the woodshed. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to break down. What's bigger in this picture is this gives Ohio State bigger games in the resume. Right.
Actually, Purdue winning 3 in a row helps them too on Saturday night. Not a gem, not a diamond, but hey, at least Purdue's 3-3 going in that game, and not 2-4 or 1-5. So it helps Ohio State. They got some great breaks. Michigan certainly helps Notre Dame. That builds them up more. And now what's great for Ohio State, what's fantastic, you get the big game with Michigan and Michigan State this week in Lansing. That really helps Ohio State out a lot. If I were them, I would just be salivating because it gives you a chance to scout these teams before you start heading down the road in November. Right. Great, fantastic game on top of it. Real quickly, just to round it up, Washington had a terrible loss at Oregon. That probably knocks out everybody from the Pac-12. Washington, field goal kickers has been the story of college and NFL football.
I'm thinking the same thing. I was going to say it about 15 minutes ago, is that kickers have been way too involved in the outcomes of a lot of these games. Way
too involved. And again, I just want to repeat, if those in the Pittsburgh or Minnesota game, they would have made those kicks. I don't know. That just played such a huge role, but back to Washington, it played a huge role there. A 37-yard, I think it was 37-yard field goal. I mean, very makeable in college, and he shanked it, missed it. So Washington with a bad loss, and again, that kind of knocks out everybody there. And then something to keep your eye on is Tui Tagovailoa had a bad injury. It looked like at one point he actually did not play the second half. They think it's just a knee sprain. But, for Alabama and for everything I've been saying, if Tui is not playing, that changes everything. So something to keep your eye on. They don't think it's a big deal, but he did not play the second half of that knee injury once he got hurt. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Alabama. So to recap, Ohio State and Notre Dame survived. By the way, their strength of schedule is ranked 1 and 2 according to ESPN. And again, the big overall theme this week for Notre Dame and Ohio State, can they stay focused? Jared, let me ask you this for the final wrap up here. Do you feel good about, hey, Ohio State, as an Ohio State fan, do you just feel good that they've been surviving against Indiana and Minnesota? Indiana, I guess not so much as they blew them out, but are you concerned yet about Ohio State?
I'm only concerned because of the big plays. That's my biggest concern.
With Notre Dame, the only thing I'm concerned about is the offensive line now. I think that could rear its ugly head. And if I were Ohio State, I would want to start seeing more of a running game. They cannot win the national championship if their running game is like I've been seeing for the last 3 weeks. Not going to be able to do it.
No.
They've got to get that fixed. Baseball. Woo, that's a deep sigh. Quickly to baseball. By the way, we are not going to break down the Tribe again. We'll do that. Never. Do that. We'll do a recap of their offseason later in November. So to round out the show here for today, the Astros won Game 1. The Red Sox came back to win last night, so they're tied now at 1-1.
Right.
To me, the one thing that's been sticking out in the series, the Red Sox have been using every ounce of energy to win just Game 2. The Astros have been winning effortless in Game 1. I actually thought they were going to tie it when Bregman hit that shot. I think the Astros are set to win that series. The Astros finally got a bad game out of Cole. It really showed its ugly head. The Red Sox, we're not even sure who's going to be pitching in Game 3. So, the Red Sox are almost scrambling to get through this series as the Astros just play. So that's my big theme after that. Dodgers-Brewers, boy, the Brewers had such a great opportunity to take a 2-0 lead in L.A., and they blew it. Just a bad loss. Turner with a big home run late in this game. And, my only note with the Dodgers is I'm not surprised Bellinger starting. I think Bellinger's such a great player. I don't watch the Dodgers every day, but I think Bellinger should be starting. But other than that, it's tied 1-1. Let me ask you, because I know you're a more neutral fan of this stuff, are you interested at all by these series, Jared?
Nope. And I get I'm glad you asked that question. Once the Indians got knocked out, I turned my head away. I it's a bit of a, it's me being a fan. It's a bit of a temper tantrum. That's what it is, especially coming from me as a guy who grew up loving baseball, played baseball,
Yeah.
I'm still just so burned by that Indians Astros series that I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch other teams have fun. I don't want to see the drama of these guys on the field play out. I don't want to see it, because you know why? It's not my Indians, and that's it's bitter, and I don't care.
Well, here's the one observation I will have. I think there's some baseball buzz right now, but I don't think there's a lot. I don't get the vibe there's a lot of baseball buzz. And in fact, I thought the Patriots dwarfed the Red Sox game. Think about that.
Yeah.
I thought the Patriots regular season game dwarfed the Red Sox in the ALCS. Even with how popular football is compared to baseball, I never thought I'd say that, but I certainly felt that last night. So those are your two series. We'll talk about that more as we get into Friday. We should bring up to everybody. I'm going to do some more digging up and looking into the NBA does start on Tuesday,
Yep.
which is so strange. You should start closer to Halloween, but because they want days off, I will say, thankfully, there's not more than 4 preseason games in the NBA. Thank God. Those preseason games mean nothing. So it's good that they get to the regular season quicker. I don't know if that means you should be playing on October 16th, but that's what they are. They have their first 2 games and I think I know the Sixers are playing in one. I know it's the Thunder and Warriors in the other. I think the bigger thing here that's going to be initially, and I think as the season goes on, it'll get better. It's obviously going to be weird without. I mean, look, it's Captain Obvious, right? It's gonna be weird without LeBron. The one thing that I don't know, I've been engaging and been reading into people. I can tell people are tempered excited about the Cavs. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I just want to enjoy the season. I have no expectations. Yeah. I should be careful about that. I do have some expectations. I expect watchable basketball. I expect good morale. I expect a team that enjoys playing together. I expect a team that when they're getting their asses beat, they still care. But they're not, they're not going to turn into what the Browns turned into yesterday on the sidelines. That's what I'm hoping to get out of the Cavs. And with the NBA in general, with the way that it's set up right now, with the way that the Warriors are going to continue to play for the next couple of years, this is the time for that to happen for us as fans and for the Cavs as a team. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
They play Toronto first on Wednesday night. That's in Toronto. Then they come back. They actually don't come back. They go to Minnesota to play. And by the way, this is someone brought this up on Twitter. That's going to be the first home game for the T-Wolves too, for the Jimmy Butler situation. So the Cavs already have they already have a game with some juice to it. Because that'll be a big storyline for sure in the NBA. Mm-hmm. I agree with everything you said. I just think for the Cavs, it's probably good we watch a game, then preview the Cavs so we can get a good feel for how this team's really going to be. Because I don't have any kind of feeling or vibe, because I really want to see what it's going to be like without LeBron in a regular season game. I want to see what this team's going to be like. And by the way, I think it's good they play Toronto first.
Yeah,
good team.
I'm looking at it like there's a chance that they get their butts whooped. Or there's a chance that we see them dig deep and grind. Yeah. In this first game of the season on the road. So, it might be a bit of an eye opener. Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't have to take away anything after the first game because it is on the road against a tough Toronto team. I don't know.
Well, that's why I like it. That's why I like it, is you're going to play a good opponent. It's not a bad thing if you lose. Yeah. You want to always win, but it's not a terrible thing if they lose. I mean, gosh, you're going to have Leonard in his first game in Toronto. They're going to be fired up for that game. So I think it's a good. And then, like I said, they play the Timberwolves after that. It's 76ers, Celtics, and Thunder's Warriors on Tuesday on TNT. And to the bigger point here, and I hate saying this about sports, but gosh, I felt this way until Tui's injury with Alabama, and I feel this way this year about the Warriors. It's a Warriors or bust. I just don't really see much of anything else playing out.
No reason. Nothing. What's changed? Nothing's changed. So
no. I don't know if I missed anything else big in sports. I tried to look around, but the bigger thing for this podcast on Friday, we'll do a Cavs preview, and then I think into the bigger picture. Now that we've seen Ohio State and Notre Dame play a couple of games here where they haven't looked their best, the college football playoff rankings come out first time on Monday today. Right. So we'll get a chance to analyze that and go through it. A big game between my Boilermakers and Watson's Buckeyes, so that'll be good to see in a big spotlight on a Saturday night game. And then to finally wrap it up, I think this is the first time this year, Jared, we are going to feel the drama of Cleveland Browns football play out. I think you're going to have a dramatic field. We haven't had this all year, but I think you're going to have a lot of drama this week. I think you're going to have a lot of drama in the press leading up to the Buccaneers game. I think you're going to have a lot of back and forth, a lot of head scratching. Yeah. This is the first week the Browns are really going to be put under a microscope in the media and through everybody else. They have been, don't get me wrong, but when you lose like that and the way you lose, especially the way the wide receivers played in that game in the run defense, you're going to get scrutinized a lot. Be interesting.
Yeah, and fans are going to just completely. It's going to be a continual sharing throughout this week of ideas of how this team can improve. 90% of them are probably going to be crazy and impossible, but I'm sure there's a lot of pulling of the hair and trying to scratching the head to figure out what are we really going to do now.
Yeah, I want to end the podcast on this. Do you think Hue has to win one of these two games?
I absolutely. I think he does. I really do.
I do too.
The thing is, are we really getting a sign as to where anyone else is within that organization with you at this point? And we're not.
I just will say this. I think Hue Jackson better win one of these 2 games. I mean, look, if it's up to you and I, he wouldn't be here. But for Hue Jackson's sake, you better win one of these 2 games, bud. Big week.
Well,
big couple weeks. Big couple weeks, I should say.
I'm going to go to school now, and I'm sorry to everyone who listened and heard me cough throughout the entire episode. I am struggling, and I apologize for my breathing and that you on the listening end have to hear me cough and rudely interrupt Andy as he's trying to give analysis. So,
well, look, allergies are spread everywhere, and it's been a horrible allergy year. So we should all just be thankful Jared made it today, because the allergies have not been kind. So
I'll live.
Fight through. So, for everybody like myself who does care, Red Sox, Astros, Dodgers, Brewers this week, we'll talk a little bit about that. But more importantly, again, the final big note is Cavs playing first game on Wednesday. Yep. But come on, the big thing is, how will the Browns handle this week? And will Dorsey add a wide receiver by Friday? We'll see.
He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. This is Cleveland and Beyond. Thanks for tuning in, folks, and we'll see you again soon. Take care. Hey, don't forget to follow Andy and Jared Cleveland and Beyond on Facebook at facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, and on Twitter at CLE and Beyond. That's at CLE and Beyond on Twitter. You can also shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing your comments.